Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. All right, first question. Why are we getting so many questions the last couple of weeks about other people? Why do you guys keep asking me about other YouTubers? Like Natural Gallant. I tore him a new asshole already before, and he came and cried on my channel. He's an ignoramus. He has not even the most basic knowledge of exercise science. All right, he's just a juice head who claims natural. It's got good genetics. Now, let's get over to the question. What's your opinion on partial range of motion with higher reps for muscle growth? Apparently, there are some natural lifters, again, I claim natural means you're natural, gain some impressive physiques applying that way of training, like Leroy Colbert for his 21 reps on his curls, or the Natural Gallant, who is a natural bodybuilder. You mean he uses tren? Who uses short ranges of motion to all of his body parts to develop his physique. Okay. Well, rather than ask my opinion and use an anecdote, what does the general evidence say? What does the general evidence say? We already know Natural Gallant says stuff that is nonsense, and every physiologist would laugh it into the ground. Train the muscles, not the joints. All right? As if you shouldn't be training your joints. Your joints need to be trained. As if there are not muscle fibers that only recruit at the terminal ends of the range of motion. Come on. Now, can partial reps for higher reps induce hypertrophy? Yes, they absolutely can. Is it okay to maybe do it with one of your exercises if there's an advantage to doing it? For example, I do a lot of sled drags. It's actual quad work. It's conditioning for me, but it does grow my quads, right? Of course. But should we be doing that with all of our exercises? No, most of your exercises need to be pretty close to full range of motion for the muscle. Now, we could get into a lot of individual discussions about specific exercises and things like active insufficiency. Sure, we could, but those are a case-by-case basis. There are exercises, specific exercises, where the fullest possible range of motion actually recruits less muscle fibers due to active insufficiency. Yes, it does happen in some cases. There are some muscles that respond better to partials than others, like triceps actually do pretty well with partials in hypertrophy studies. But as a whole, no, it's not. This is not the ideal way to train. Generally speaking, and again, I want to keep that in there. Generally speaking, because there are exceptions, longer ranges of motion have more hypertrophic potential. And I want to make that clear, potential. That potential might only be 1% more growth. Okay? So I'm not saying you can't get pretty big and jacked up partials. But quit listening to every clown who tells you they're natural and that they use certain methods to get there when natural, and then you look and they don't even understand the basics of physiology. Okay? They're completely unaware of any of the literature where we studied muscle growth in the lab. And you would look at that and go, okay, even if it's true, even if they're a complete genetic freak, an absolute genetic freak of nature, and they got those results doing this completely drug-free, if we know they would have got 1 to 2% more muscle growth doing something better, they didn't even reach their full potential as a genetic freak because they trained stupid. Okay, just keep that in mind with these sort of anecdotal arguments. You know, yes, we can use anecdote. Anecdote's very helpful. What we need to do, though, ideally, is look at what happens in the lab, compare all the anecdotes of the best athletes and best coaches, not a handful of isolated cases, and look and see where all the data matches up. Okay. Because most of you out there are not complete genetic freaks who can just get away with nonsense. You aren't. I'm not one of those freaks. I actually have to train hard and smart to get anywhere. I'm not that gifted. Okay, and odds are most of you are not either. All right, next question. Is there a more efficient way to get rid of belly fat? Well, I know there's no such thing as localized fat loss, but I may be the most skinny fat guy ever. I went from 96 to 66 kg at 186 centimeters. Whoa. But I didn't do it fast. It took 10 months. You just contradicted yourself, brother. 30 kg in 10 months. And you said you didn't do it fast. You just lied to me. Your math doesn't add up. That is very fast. Now, but no signs of belly giving up. It looks projected even when I correct my posture. Right now, at 10 to 15% calorie deficit. How do you know that? With enough protein and 1 hour of cardio 6 times a week, trying to get as lean as possible before going back to lifting. Well, you're losing nothing but muscle probably at this point. You're not lifting, and you're doing a bunch of cardio, and you're losing weight when you're already at 66 kg. You do realize at least 50% of the weight you're losing is muscle. What are you doing? Okay, when skinny fat people cut, they either, especially if they're not lifting weights, okay, you're not training, they either continue to be skinny fat, they just get slightly less skinny fat, or they just get really skinny with no muscle. And then they have to spend a long time rebuilding up the muscle they lost just to get to untrained status, just to get to the amount of muscle that they would have had they never cut. They're going to spend a long time. They're going to have to bulk pretty hard to do that. And oftentimes they end up needing to gain fat to do that. Stop. Your height and weight, you don't need to lose any weight. You need to build some muscle. You need to slow bulk, get under a barbell, get back in the gym right now, drop this silly cutting, because look at your height and weight. You're just burning through your muscle tissue at this point. You need to get under a barbell and put some muscle on, and then you can trim the extra body fat off. What are you doing to yourself, brother? You're not going to look better. You're not going to be happy with how you look doing what you're doing. If you manage to get down to an acceptable body fat where you don't have the belly anymore, you're going to look like a skeleton. You're going to look like an anorexic, and everyone is going to recognize that you are an anorexic, because you are an anorexic at that point. If that is what you've done, what you're trying to do, you are going to make yourself an anorexic if you are not already one. You need to put some muscle on. You need to make some gains. And I'm saying this in your best interest. Your mindset right now, what I'm reading right here, is the mindset of someone with anorexia. And I'm not saying you have it. I'm saying you might have it. And if you don't have it, you are on your way to developing it with your mindset and activities. You might, at this point, want to consider talking to a therapist. Okay, that would be probably the safest advice I could give you legally, and from a liability perspective, would be like, maybe you should go talk to a therapist, because this is not good. And you need to get under a barbell right now. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.